Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we started with our discussion on user-defined data types in C. We'll proceed with the same. We were solving one example. So, we will complete that and then we'll see the next user-defined data type. So, it was about, just to refresh, it was about the airline reservation system where we had to maintain records of flights. So, for that, we created an array of flights, right? And after that we read the array of read data into the array of flights using the read flights function. So we defined a function to read data into the flights array. Once we do that, now is the time for getting the queries. So if you want to book a flight, so that part is what is to be done right now. So for booking the flight, we are going to get the queries, different queries. So for each query, you have to find whether it is possible to get a flight or no, right? So that is what you are supposed to do. So let us write that function now. Let us call that function as book flight. Okay. For booking a flight, we are going to have queries one by one. Okay. So, but you're going to book the flights from that flight array. So we need to pass the flight array to this. Yes or no? Along with how many ever flights are there in my database. So the array of flights that I have, mini database with me, right? Of n records. And from those n records, I have to sift out those n records and find out whether that query is matching or not. Okay, and if it is matching, that means the source and the destination. Queries are of the form starting point and destination, right? The source and the destination. If they are matching, then you book the flight. Otherwise, you cannot directly book the flight. You have to check the seat availability. If it is available, it is a positive number, then you book it. Otherwise, you say sorry, print out an apology. Okay, so that is what we have to do. So there are different ways of doing it. What I will do is I will write the queries here only. I'll take the queries inside book flight function only. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create an array of queries. Okay, so what we can do is queries are of the form source and destination, right? So source, starting point and destination. If you remember, if you recollect, our starting point and destination are of length 3, right? Mumbai to Delhi, MUM, DEL, right? So I'm declaring the size as 4, 1 for the \0 null character, source and destination. Okay. And then what I will do is I will read this queue. I will say enter the number of queries, right? Scanf %d queue. Queue is the number of queries. So I'll just give a prompt. I'll say enter the number of queries, right? And then this loop is going to run and q times. There'll be a loop which will run q times for I is equal to 0, I is less than q, I plus plus, right? I'll run it q times. Now in this, I'm going to take the starting point and the destination. So I'll say right. Once I do this, I'm going to go into my flights array and check whether it is having this particular flight or no, right? So again, there'll be a loop here inside this loop. Yes or no? Are you following this?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to now scan my database of flights and find whether my this query is there or no, right? The source and destination is there or no. So what I'm going to do is I'll use another iterator j. For j is 0, j is less than n. N is the size of my database of flights.
Ma'am, J
I will,
plus.
yes, good. So if now I need to use string compare for the starting point and for the destination. Okay, so let me use this as some other letter so we can, although it will not matter because we are going to use f of I dot source, f of I dot sp, f of I dot destination, right? So I'm going to use string library right here because string compare is required. So string dot h, right?
You will be ending it, right? Like SPR, CMP of both the things, like the source and the destination.
Yes, it has to be an and, both should match, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. String compare the source with the source of the flight. So SRC with the flights f of j dot sp, right? So I'll just copy this. Destination f of j dot destination, right? If there's a match, that is string compare should yield 0. If the match is found, then I check if the seats are available. Seats are greater than 0, right? Which seats? F of j seats, the flight seats, right? The f of j dot seats, if they are greater than 0, then what will I do? I will say congratulations, you have booked your ticket booked. Okay, I can also print out the arrival time and departure time here at this point. I'm not printing it just because of shortage of time, but in your program when you do it in lab, you can print the arrival time and the starting time and the arrival time, when it will start, so when you have to there and when it will arrive there at the destination. Okay,
Ma'am,
and
if there are more than one seats vacant, then you'll have to even print number of vacant
yes,
seats. Right?
we have to reduce the seats by 1, that is what is mentioned here, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If so, reduce the number of seats, whatever is given. You can do some kind of modification here. You can print it. I mean, you can make it as fancy as you can. You can do that. F of j dot seats, right? I'm reducing it. Otherwise, okay, and I will. Can I write else here? I am assuming that there is only one flight from one source to a destination. Okay, I am not. We are not considering that there are different flights. Okay, because we do not have. We have not saved any other data like flight name here. So otherwise, then we can have some flight name or like different airlines or something, Indigo or something like that. If that is the case, then it is possible that there are multiple flights from the same source to the destination. Then you cannot write if else. Then you have to keep on comparing, right? And finally, if you have not found any flight with seats greater than 0, then you have to say booking not possible, right? But that is not the case here, so I'm not doing that. So in this case, you will simply say sorry. No seat available. Okay. Fine. So this is about the book flight. Let us quickly run this. Did I complete it?
Ma'am, we also have to write one more else no, because if the source and destination, that flight is not available, like from Mumbai to Kolkata.
So I'll use a flag for that. So if it is going inside this, flag is equal to 1, right? And before before this, I'll say flag is equal to 0. Before the loop, I will say flag is equal to 0. In the if any match is found, that means it will go inside and it will print either of the two messages. Yes or no? Either of the two, this or this. But if it is never going to go inside, that means that source and destination is not there only. That means that flight only is not available. So in that case, I will simply check the value of my flag outside this loop, right? So if flag is 0, I will say outside this J loop. So if flag is equal to 0, I will say, sorry. Okay. Or you can write no seats available, the same message you can print here. But you need to do this because sometimes that query might not match at all. So this is about, I will declare all my variables first, ij and flag. Right. So I will call, let me, this also has to be user defined. So I will just create one n here. Enter the number of flights. Okay. Enter the number. This is for the database. This is fine. So this n I'm going to pass here whenever I'm calling those functions. So it will be user defined. Okay. Let me comment this. and after reading flights, I will, what is the name of my function? Book flight.
Now that if flag should be inside the J loop, no?
Hmm?
Because you have to check for each iteration of flight. If we put it outside the J loop, then it will check only once, no?
For each iteration of what? For each query, you are checking whether the flight is available in the database. If the
Yes.
flight is not available, uh, you have to put that if outside J loop, right? Because see, for that query, you will check whether it is available or not. So if that if condition never becomes true for all the flights, that means that flight is not available. That Mumbai to Delhi is not there only in my database.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So for that, it has to be checked outside, na? Outside J loop. It's inside I loop, but it is outside J loop.
Okay, okay.
Correct, na? So book flights, that was the same. This is the signature, right? Flights and N. You can also have a different version of this where you are actually reading all the queries at once and then you are searching through the database. But for that, you will have to create a two-dimensional array of queries, right? So it will be size will be QR, Q, Q4 and destination Q4, two-dimensional array of strings. So it is up to you. That is what I say. I'll give you the program. Whatever we have discussed, you can change your logic, change the logic of this program altogether. It is up to you. How do you do it? Want to do it? Suppose I enter 4 flights. Enter the flight. So I also changed this thing. I made this as a string. Yesterday we were discussing na integer or string. I made this as a string. We are not using it, but we should use it in your program. You use it. You print it out. Starting time and arrival time. Enter number of seats. Okay. So for this, let me put it as 0. Okay. It should work. Enter number of seats. So tell me some. I don't know which. Tell me some destination. Whose
Bangalore.
destination? Bangalore. I don't know whether it went inside.
Chennai.
Destination. Okay, I'm putting 3 characters. I don't know which characters usually they use. Starting time something. I'm just putting some arbitrary time just to save. Flight starting time is starting time. Okay. Enter the number of queries. Just 2 queries we'll put. Starting point is Mumbai. So no seats available because I had put that as 0. And I can take any other like Bangalore. Okay. So you can just modify this program. You can print out the starting time, arrival time. You can print out the number of seats left or something like that. Okay. But that is not going to be much useful if you are but if your query is like the next query is for the same flight, when your next query is for the same flight, for example, I have reduced this by 1, right, and I have a query for the same flight, that is Bangalore to Mumbai. So in that case, it will show for the third query that that flight is not available. That you can check, right? That is why I had put this as 1, but I should have put 3 queries here. Okay, so that is about this program. Any doubts?
नंबर ऑफ क्यूरीज मतलब नंबर ऑफ यूजर्स ना, मतलब कितने यूजर्स
Number
बुक
of,
कर रहे हैं.
yeah, so we are simulating the bookings, number of bookings. It's like a flight management system where all flights are there, right? So maybe we are considering for a single airlines, say Air India or Indigo or whatever. Okay.
मैम n नंबर ऑफ फ्लाइट्स इन डेटाबेस है ना, तो वो यूजर क्यों डिफाइन करेगा? वो तो ऑलरेडी रहेगा ना कि इतनी फ्लाइट्स है करके एयरपोर्ट पे.
We are simulating it. We are simulating it. हमारे पास अगर फाइल होती या डेटाबेस होता तो फिर वो डेटाबेस से we would have picked it up. We would have created that file temp. We have to create it na anyways. It's not real data na. It is simulation. वो डेटाबेस से डायरेक्टली उठाता. In that case, that n would be user defined, database defined. But now I don't have a file na. I'm simulating it in my program's memory. So in that case, I'm creating an array na. See, even in your students' case, whatever you create, if your arrays you've worked with already earlier, you take n always na from the user. You don't decide first only that it will be 100 students. Yes or no?
यस मैम.
If it is a database, you will pick it up from there, whatever it is. You don't know what n is, right? Any other doubt? Okay. Next is the concept of a union. So union is the next user-defined data type. Now, in case of a union, what happens is you can combine multiple types together again, but at a time, only one will be active. Okay, in a union. So for how to define it, the syntax. Syntax is union, the keyword union in small case. Okay, union with union name. So this is a union example I will give of temperature in a day. Okay, so for temperature in a day, what we will do is we will save let me call it weather. Okay, we will save the temperature okay, and we will save, rather than this, we will create a structure called weather. Okay, and a structure can have a union. So for the syntax is simple for union name. So let me call the union name as feels like, and inside this two members or two components, wind chill and heat index. Okay, so if the temperature is If it is high, so if it is hot, when it is hot usually, then we talk about the heat index of the temperature of the day basically. And when it is actually cold, we talk about wind chills. So at a time we require only one data, not both. So in that case we go for union, because union means that whatever data types are there, whatever the components are there, or whatever members are there in a union, they at a time only one will be active, any one. So if you want out of all these only one to be active depending on some condition, so in that case you may go for a union. Okay, so it this union you can use it inside the struct weather. So a struct can have any primitive data type. It can have an array also. We saw in the previous example, right? In this example we saw that a struct is having an array, right? Or it can also have a union, or it can contain some other structure as well. A struct as its member can have another structure or a union as well. So I'll put this union there. So what I will do is, we'll create a variable of this type. I'll say union feels like F. Okay. So now there are two members of this structure. One is the temperature and one is the feels like. At a time, any one will be active. Okay. Depending on the temperature. So if the temperature, you can define a range. So like, let's say the temperature is below like 5 degrees Celsius, then in that case, you will make use of wind chill. And if it is above like 5 degrees Celsius, you will have heat index. It depends, 10 degrees Celsius, maybe 10 to 15, depends on the area that you are staying in. Okay, so that is about union. So we will see how it differs in memory, how it is actually saved in memory. Because I did not talk about the memory so far, I only talked about the syntax of the structure and how to use it. But how it is saved in memory, what is the size of this structure? Okay, so for that, let me switch on to my example, a simple example where I have created a structure and I have created a union separately. Okay, so for this case, structure is having three members. One is a float, one is a char, one is an array of characters, and union is also having the same three members, three different members. One is an int, one is a char, and one is a array of characters. Okay, so if I try to find out the size of the structure, what will be the size of my structure? My structure should be able to accommodate all three, right? The float value, the char, that x, as well as z. It is having all three components and all three can be initialized, right? So the size will be the size of the sum of the sizes of each of these. What will be the size of s if I create a variable of s? Okay. Now one more thing I have changed here. What I have done is I have introduced type def. Type def, you can see there's a different way I have written this. This type def allows you to redefine a type to some new name. That means you can refer to the type with a new name. So what do is that struct s is usual. Struct s you create and you have all those members. After that, what you do is you rename it to s, that capital S. So this is your usual structure, this much, right? This is your usual structure. This structure, using type def, you are renaming it to another name. Okay, what is the usefulness of this? The usefulness of this is that you can have the same instead of using struct s everywhere, I can use s, the shorthand of struct s. I can use s to declare my variables. For declaring my variables, I can use the shorthand. So this is an advantage of using type def. So you will see in some places that people have used type def everywhere to define their user defined types, because that makes life much simpler. Okay, so this is about type def. Now what will be the size of structure according to you in terms of bytes? Used for computing in terms of bytes, it will be this
22.
size of operator.
22
Okay.
for structure.
So how did you get
Float is
22?
4 bytes, no?
Float is
4 bytes
4
or 8
bytes.
bytes?
4 bytes. 4
Oh,
bytes.
float is 4 bytes.
Yes.
So
Okay, then
18.
18.
18. Okay. So let us run this. And what about union then? Since it is only
13.
one at a time. 13. Because the union should be able to accommodate anyone at a time. So it will be, the size will be the size of the largest, right? Largest element that it has, largest component. So 18 and 13 you all are saying. But when I run this, I just want to show that.
For union, how can you predict the size? It can be any of the three, right?
It can be any of the three, but when you're reserving memory, it is fixed, right? So for memory reservation, I cannot, it is not variable, it is not dynamic memory allocation. We are having, whatever we are doing so far is only static memory allocation. It is fixed whenever you declare a variable. So at this point, the size is fixed for this variable. At this point, the size is fixed for this variable. So I need to fix it. So it has to be, what logically it has to be the size of the largest element that it has, no? So that
Yes, ma'am.
it can accommodate anything else. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I run this, I get something like this. So we said it was 13, 18 and 13, right? Now we're getting it as 20 and 16. Okay. So this is something which you will find in all the compilers, because the way in which memory is allocated inside for a structure and union, that depends on something which is internal to picking up data, and for that that is a problem of word alignment. Okay, so word alignment is basically every word that is there, every word that is there, that has to be saved on a memory which is divisible by 4. Okay, it has to begin at a memory which is divisible by 4, location which is divisible by 4. So for that, there are some padding bytes which are added if it is uneven, like this is 13, which is not divisible by 4. So now what is happening is float 4, this is fine, this is 4 bytes. Next will be character, which is 1 byte. Okay, so that is 5, 4 plus 1, 5. And next is 13, that is 18, that makes it 18. But next time what will happen is, if I have another structure after this, if I create another variable after this, then in that case the next memory that is there, location that is there, that will be for a float. And by default, what does the compiler assume? Whatever comes at the next memory location will be an integer. Okay, so for an integer or for a float, it should begin on a memory location which is divisible by 4. So that is why what is happening after 4, see what is happening in memory is, I'll just show the memory map. It is a float, x, y and z. Okay, so this is 4 bytes. Okay, so this starts at 4, but this is a single character, and what comes after it is a character. So for a character it is fine, but if your data that you are going to save, if it is an integer or a float, then in that case it should begin on an address which is divisible by 4. Okay, so in this case the next data that is there, it is a character, right? So it is not necessary that it is divisible by 4. So it begins at 6. Okay, so 0, 3, 6 up till what? It will go up till the 13 size, that is 18, that is 17, right? Are you getting it? Itne bytes hai ye. This is 4 bytes, 0 to 3, then this starts at 4. This is a character, this is a character array. Fine. Okay. So next it is assuming that the next data that will be saved will be a float or an integer. If it is an array of if it is an array that you create here, then it will be a float which will be saved. Otherwise, it always assumes assumes that it will be an integer. So in that case, what happens is that integer should be saved on an address which is divisible by 4, right? So that will not happen, right? Because the next address is at 18, which is not divisible by 4. So what the compiler does is it adds some bytes called as slack bytes, some padding. It adds some padding to this memory and such that it becomes divisible by 4. The next integer will become divisible by 4. Okay. So next integer will be at 20. That is what is happening. And next integer which will come here, next whatever will come here, it will start at this memory location. That is 20. Okay. So that is why the size you saw as 20. Okay. What about union? Again, the same thing. Size of the largest. Size of the largest is character array, but it is 13. So it will make it 16. Are you getting it? It will add 3 to it. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Ma'am, if you
Yes, ma'am.
setting the region
Ah.
for
Now if I
storing-
change order, now let me show one more thing. If I change the order, Control X. Okay. What I have done, I have changed the order of this. What has happened? Size of S1 has changed again. It has become 24. Okay. Why? Can you tell me?
It'll start from 4, right? And then those 4 bits will be accommodated in the end. So 20 plus 4, 24.
No, because after this, after the character, there's a float. Float should start on an even on a number which is divisible by 4, right?
Yes,
पहले
ma'am.
वाला character है, हाँ. This is character, so now it becomes 1, na? So 3 bytes are added. So now it starts at 4. Are you getting it? So 3 are added here. So this becomes 4 plus 16.
Ma'am, here we have only two data types like float and character, so we are easily switching. But what if float, character, and integer? Then
It's the same thing. I can use integer here. Let me use integer. The same whatever logic I told you, the same it will work. Because integer and integer and float, they are 4 bytes only, na, directly. They are divisible by 4. That is why I use character there for the example. I
Ma'am,
can
so
use
in
this.
case of double, it will be multiple of 8.
Yes. You can
Okay.
have double here. Huh? So I'll give this example to you. You play around with this. You check how it is working. Right? 32. You're getting it, right? The idea how it is saved.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Now, if you want to access the union's components, then you directly use u.x like you use for structure. u.x, u.y. But it is the programmer's responsibility that he makes sure that he's using only one of the members, okay, of the union. Because if you try to assign, like if you say u.x is equal to something, okay, like u1 I've created, I say u1.x is equal to integer hai na, 5. Then I say next I say u1.y is equal to, it's a character t. Okay, I cannot keep on doing this. So usually when I use union, I'll use it as part of a structure mostly. So either this or the third one, whatever I have. If I do something like this, then what will happen? there could be some problems that are faced. Whatever you do at the end, whatever assignment you do at the end, that will be active. Whatever assignment you do at the end. So if you're assigning this at the end, okay, that will be active. So if I try to print this percent u dot y, what am I getting? What do I get? I have, what should you get?
Why no?
Hmm?
U1 dot y, no, there.
Sorry, u1 dot y. Very good. See, what am I getting? It's a garbage character. Okay. So if I print so whatever is the last assignment, na, whichever component is assigned last, that is valid. So you should not do something like this. It is advised you should not do it. The programmer has the responsibility of taking care of the union. Okay. So with this, the second example I just want to discuss quickly. I think you should be able to do this. That is the men's sports club. Okay. So basically you are keeping records for this sports club for all the members. The record will contain typical information such as age, address of each person, but also information about whether a member is an active. Okay, so this is a basic data which is there for the member, like age, address, other details. Okay, but apart from this, also some other information, whether the member is an active playing member or no, whether he is married or no, and so on. Okay, so now if he is married, then the record contains information about his wife's name, the number of children, and the names. Okay, so in this case, this data is there. Write a program which demonstrates how such a system might be implemented. So only if he is married, you need to save this data. Otherwise, you do not need to save this data. Okay, so slightly different. It's not that all the data is mandatory. So what will you use here? First of all, structure, right? What is the basic data which is there for all members, that is common for all members? That is age and address. Let us assume two fields. You can add any other of your choice. Okay, but two fields, age and address. What about what other data is required?
Activity.
Whether active or not. Okay, so active, that will be a flag. Active or not, right? It will be a flag kind of stuff. 1 or 0, or you can use A or something U, inactive, A or I, right? Inactive. About whether he is married or not. Again, this could be a flag like variable. Married, unmarried, MU. Okay, or married single, MS. So if he is married, the record contains information about his wife's name, the number of children. So this is some additional information which is optional. Okay, so how will you incorporate this?
Can use a structure and the if statements, right? As per the condition.
So you just create one more structure. One solution is, this is one solution. You can think of something else. It is up to you. So just create a structure of the married person's details that you need to have, right? If he is married, the record contains information about structure, details of his wife. So maybe the wife name is there, the number of children. Okay. Number of children. And what else? And their names. So, and their names, then character array of names. Okay. And then simply use the flags that you have. There will be two structures. So the one structure will be the member structure, right? Member will have age, whatever was mentioned there. What else is there? Address. Also information whether it's active player. So active and married. So how will you save this here? How will you save the details here? Because it has to be associated. It is natural to understand that you're going to create an array of members. Yes or no? Array of members of the club you're going to create later on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no? So how will you incorporate those details here? Because the member, each member will have that wife. That structure has to be with that. So I can create a structure variable here. That is one way. Okay. This structure will be empty if that married flag is equal to S. Yes or no? If married is equal to S, the structure will be empty. You will not have anything. Okay. Otherwise you will have. Another way, you create a union. Third, union.
For each
Union
member,
U,
details will be specified.
where you have details, and here you have something else, some string, just a dummy string, which says unmarried. Okay, or something like some hobby of the married people do not have hobbies, so that is the thing. So char hobby is a string, right? Something like this, or some dummy string which you can think of something else, or which just prints the unmarried. That's it. So at a time only one will be active. If the person is married, he will have a wife and children details, all that. If the person is unmarried, he will have a hobby. Okay, so that's it.
So
So
it is
this,
necessary to
instead of
one in union.
no, you can have the first case. Okay, I'll just keep this first case also, so that you can refer struct details, right? This is the first case without the union. This one, this is case 1. Second case is with the union, you will create a union member. Okay, you give it a good name. I just used you here. Okay, and you're done. Fine. Rest you can manage. The program is straightforward. You just have to write a program which demonstrates So what you have to do is, in the program, after you take the records, you save all those records like your flights program, similar to flights program. Okay, read flights किया था ना यहाँ पे, same way read members. Okay, while reading only you have to check the flag. If the flag is this, then what you have to do? Okay, if the flag is F, then you read that union's details or the details of the this. In the first case, it will be empty for an unmarried person. Okay, if you're using case 1, you're directly using the structure variable here, it will be this, that will be empty for. So if you're using union, you're saving on space. Are you getting it? The use of unions. If I'm using the second option, case 2, am I not saving space then?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the advantage of using unions. So it is up to you. You can use, because it is your way of modeling it. You can do it. But if you are an intelligent programmer, you'll go for a union. Okay. So rest all remains same. After you read, you simply have to print the names of the wives of all active players only, active playing members. So again, for this show wife, you have to check for active player members, and for active, if he is married, then you have to show the name of the wife. That condition you have to put. That's it. Isn't it simple to do it? Following the same idea of the flights is the same, na? Only thing is, it's a comparison of character now, single character. If you're using a char, you can use an int also here, active, unactive, inactive. You can use an int also, 0101. When you are using characters, you have to be careful. Why you have to be careful while reading characters? While reading characters, it will not allow you to read if you're not using a space before %C. Like, let us take this example only, where I have a character. Let me create this as character. Okay, quickly I'll just read some data into this. This S1, I'm going to read. So I'll say scanf %. Here I will show you use this concept in that program. That's it. %d S1 dot X. % S1 dot and %S. I'll just write one single prompt here, enter. Okay, spelling mistake and all this. Okay, so first I am expecting integers, so I'll enter. See, program stopped now. Why is the program stopped?
Because it accepted the enter as the character input.
So no, it is blocking. My antivirus is blocking it. I forgot to put address of operator. You didn't tell me. Okay. Which lecture you have now?
Physics.
So after, it is not reading my string, it is reading the character. Oh, sorry, I again put a mistake. For the string, there is no address of operator. For the other two, there. So it is not allowing me to read the string. Okay. So what I do is a %c. के पहले I put a space. Now it is allowing me to read the string. Are you getting it? So when you are having a character as one of the components in your structure, then you have to be careful. You just put a space before %c. That's it. Okay. String mate is not required, but for character %c space is required because of that enter problem, enter key problem. So that's about the second program. Fine. I'll give
Ma'am,
this both of these to you. You just see.
yes, sir. Can you please explain how is type def useful again?
Yeah. So type def is useful because whenever I declare a normal variable, a structure variable, I have to write this statement, na? Struct s s1.
Okay, so just as. Acha.
So just s. I'm shorthand basically. So every time, even in function signature, I have to write that entire thing, struct, student, s, whatever. So instead of that, only student s I need to write. So that is the advantage of type def, renaming.
And ma'am, can we get the just the questions which were asked in this ISC 2, because they had a lot of new variations. So, and even
Okay.
before the marks are given, just the questions, the list of questions, because it might take some time to get the marks done, I think, on Moodle.
Okay. I'll look into it if I can give it in a day or two. Mostly, I think this time everyone has given the ISC, right? Last time there were some who have not given the ISC.
Yeah, I think ISC everyone attended.
So 1 or 2 days your marks will be displayed and the questions also. I mean, it will be seen.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.